everything was singing. Every time they got together, they were singing. The singing was so much that about 15 or 17 years ago, my father, he needed an emergency operation in Rockledge for the gallbladder. And after the operation, the doctor comes out and tells me, you know, I never had a case like this. In the middle of the operation, in the middle of the anesthesia, this man is singing. I couldn't understand what language he was singing in, but he was singing. 2 years ago, when they put him the pacemaker in the recuperation room, I filmed him singing. He was still in the middle of anesthesia, coming out of the anesthesia. He was singing. He learned to sing so well that when he was in the army in Romania, in Neuboro, Shabbos and Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, he used to daven by the Vishnitzer Rebbe. He learned to daven so beautifully that he was the Bal Tfilah, the Bal Shachris for Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur in Colombia for many, many, many years. And I know that in the davening, when we say Smeichim v'tzeisom v'sosim v'voyom oisim be'emor retzon koinom, is referring to the sun and the moon, but I think it also referred to my father, because although he was sameach and he was able to, his whole purpose of being sameach was to do retzon koinom, to the extent that he was able to take an 11-year-old son and send him away to yeshiva in a time when it took 12 hours to fly by plane, and there was no telephones, there was no, if you wanted to speak, you needed to make an appointment with the operator, and we spoke maybe once a year. So to have that, his whole simcha was lasois retzon koinom. And lastly, I want to end with asking mechila for my father, because ever since I was a child, he took me along with him to whatever business meeting he had, whatever sales he was trying to make. He took me to Europe, he took me to work with him. I used to work with him all my time, and therefore during work with a father, sometimes you get into a position where maybe I didn't listen to him, or maybe I got angry at him, or maybe I did not do exactly what he wanted. So therefore I'm asking mechila for all of that. And I want to ask that he should be a Melis Yoitzer for Mami, for Dora, for Jenny, for the grandchildren, the great-grandchildren. And he should ask Hashem already, it's time for the Mashiach, Yigia Zman. V'yisur yisur b'chaim es nishmoso.
Parsha we just read says, "Vayamas Yosef v'chol achav v'chol hador ahu," and I think in a half a pasuk, the feeling of the family and the feeling of really anyone who knew Zaidi, including 80 and 90-year-old people from Miami that would always ask me how Zaidi's doing. His fan club, which extends around the whole world, I think that probably encapsulates everyone's feeling that Yosef went, and then his brothers went, and then eventually V'chol Hador Ahu. To us, somehow this feels like with Zaidi's passing, it's the end of an entire generation, a generation that we were sure was going to merit seeing Pnei Mashiach Tzidkenu. As much as I believed in Mashiach, that's about as much as I believed that Zaidi was going to be here to be Makabel Pnei Mashiach. So now we're going to have to keep on believing, and Zaidi Mir Hashem will help us. People conclude their hespedim tehei nishmaso tzrora b'tzrora hachayim. What does that mean? What does it mean to be tzrora b'tzrora hachayim? Zaidi's last Shabbos on this earth was 8 days ago, Parshas Vayechi, as my father mentioned. 8 years ago on Parshas Vayechi, Zaidi was zocha to be at the bris of his Bechor's Bechor, my son, David Yaakov, who was named after my maternal grandfather. When I was preparing a few words for the bris, my wife noticed that appropriately the name David featured prominently in the Torah of Vayechi, and the name Yaakov obviously featured very prominently in the parsha itself. So it got me thinking about those two personas, David and Yaakov, what they have in common. So what it is the entire parsha and Haftorah are about these two personas, these two leaders of Klal Yisrael, being mitzvah and being madrich their children. The entire Parshas Vayechi, that's what it's all about. And the Haftorah also, the entire thing is about David being madrich Shlomo, his son, who's going to be the next king, ensuring continuity. And this is something that you don't find by other avos, and you rarely find it in such detail elsewhere in Tanakh. I went to yeshiva, so I can't tell you that I know Tanakh that well, but I'm pretty sure it's pretty rare. So that's one commonality. We also know about we know about David that it says David Melch Yisrael Chai V'Kayim, and we know about Yaakov Avinu it says Yaakov Avinu Lo Meis, which is also another rarity in Tanakh. So it's possible, it could be that these are two sides of the same coin. That when a person puts so much of his koichus into ensuring that his children carry on in his path after he is gone, then he can be called Lo Meis, and rather Chai V'Kayim. And this was Zaidi. It's interesting that he passed away between Parshas Vayechi and Parshas Shmos, between Chazak V'Nis Chazek, which is a variant of his well-known encouragement that everyone in the family knows of Chazak Ve'amatz, on the one hand, and his well-worn admonishment of Nirpim Atem Nirpim, on the other hand. And in my case, boy, was it well-worn. Zaidi, you spent your entire long life teaching your children to be Chazak Ve'amatz and not to be Nirpim. This was your theme. But as much as you taught us verbally, you taught us all the more so by deed and example. You embodied ometz, strength, fortitude in every way. Your life story attests to it. You always moved forward without cheshbonos and without questions, no matter what the odds, with an unbelievably simple and unshakable faith in the Ribono Shel Olam. You were the epitome of a Yehudi Ne'aman, a simple, genuine, authentic, reliable Jew. Our generation has Baruch Hashem sophistication in abundance, probably like never before. What we're missing, if we're being honest, is genuineness and authenticity. In short, Zaidi, Jews like you, that's what we're missing, Jews like you. I thank the Ribono Shel Olam for the incredible zechus of having had Zaidi for so many of these years. I made a cheshbon the other day. I had time with my grandfather, with my Zaidi, more than triple the time that he had with his own father, which is an incredible thing. It's an unimaginable zechus that people in previous generations would never have dreamt of, maybe going all the way back to Mesushela and those times. The time is short here tonight, and it's simply not possible to capture a nearly 103-year life in a 5-minute picture. So I will close with this. Last week when you were in rough shape, Zaidi, and it was difficult for you to even speak, my father was standing there, I was standing there, my Aunt Jenny was standing there. My father asked you in Spanish, ¿Qué quieres, papi? ¿Qué quieres? What do you want? He was motioning, and Zaidi, you practically shouted back, Quiero vivir, I want to live, I want to live. So as you transition now to the true Eretz HaChaim, I want to tell you, Zaidi, that we, your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, and onwards, Ad Sof Kol Hadoros, will continue to be Chazak Ve'amatz, and to carry on in your way, so that your neshama can be bound in the Tzror HaChaim, and so we can say about you, as it was with Yaakov Avinu and David Malka Mashiach, Zaidi lo meis, and Zaidi chai v'kayim. Tehei nishmaso tzrora b'tzora chayim.